Craig, how do you feel about dating humans? I love someone reliable. My partners and I could use a third, fourth, whatever it is, number.
Well, I mean, we know that Craig is good at practicing ethical non-monogamy because he is in many different servers.
Craig, you're already on it. I'm so grateful.
And thank you for tuning in to Gay Space Rocks, a Steven Universe watching podcast where we watch Steven Universe. I am your host, Brian. You can find me on the internet at RoomwarePod, and you can find the podcast on Twitter at at Gay Space Pod. Sorry to the actual Gay Space Pod. I didn't know you existed when I took the Twitter handle. With me today, as always, is my co-host, August.
Hey, I'm August. You can find me on Twitter at HarpyDora, and my pronouns are still they, them.
And a special guest, we have Gilda Wabbit with us.
Hi, everyone. My name's Gilda Wabbit. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Venmo, Grindr, Grubhub, and Ashley Madison at Gilda Wabbit. And I also use they, them pronouns. Thank you so much.
You're
Ashley
very
Madison
welcome.
Is still a thing?
That's just a dumb drag queen joke. I don't know if it exists.
Okay.
I already have 2 partners. I can't handle some married man as well. That'd be way too much.
That's what you got the OnlyFans for.
Right, exactly. Thank you for plugging my OnlyFans.
Now.
Yes, thank you.
So this is the weirdest setup for a guest that we've ever had on one of our shows, in that Gilda accidentally tagged us on Twitter because of the aforementioned Gay Space Pod.
Yeah, I recorded with a podcast called Gay Space Podcast, which is Tracy Otomy and Mike, who are drag people in Nashville. And I tagged them, and then you all were like, oh, hey, we're Gay Space Rocks, the Gay Space Rocks podcast at Gay Space Pod. And I was like, sick, I love Steven Universe. This is so great.
It was very serendipitous. It's very good. Tell everybody a bit about yourself, Gilda.
Well, hi, hello. My name is Gilda Wabbit. You probably don't know me, but you might know what I look like thanks to the meme "The Future Liberals Want," where
Oh
that's
my gosh.
me.
You're so fabulous.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, I'm the drag queen sitting next to the woman in the niqab on the New York City subway, which is a good time. I now live in Kentucky. I work at Play Dance Bar in Louisville. I have a cute, slowly coming together home with my 2 partners. We have a cat named Ruby, and I like to tell jokes and show my legs on stage. That's what I do. And I sing.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
Coalition of Southern queers here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I heard that, August, you're in Georgia, so we're just like a straight line. Georgia, Nashville, or Georgia, Tennessee, and Kentucky.
Yep.
All our powers combined, we'll get some... We're going to eventually... It's now my goal to get all of the... Everything below the Mason-Dixon, and we got to get a guest.
Yes. I have a question. So I was doing some research, and I was listening to your all's podcast. Am I the first guest on the show yet?
Yes.
Yes.
We've only had 4 episodes, so...
Right. Yes, I know. I was listening to episode 4 in my car on the way to my dad's today.
Aw,
it was
thank
fun. Yeah, well, yeah. I wanted to get a feel for how the show went. I wanted to not be a bad guest and be like, hey, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here, but I'm here to talk about Steven Universe. Hope we like lesbian rocks. Let's go.
It wouldn't be much different from how we run the show on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So this is the least prepared and most casual show that August and I do.
Great. Well, I'm just here to point out all the innuendos that they wrote into the script, because that's what I kept watching these 3 episodes. I was like, there are so many. There are so many. Right. And you all did Meat Beat Mania last week. So good.
I could have swore I'm still perturbed at myself for thinking that they had a joke that said, "Prepared to beat your meat." I thought that's what the arcade machine said. I was so
that's
disappointed.
also what I thought. So
Yeah, I also did. When I heard that was not true, I was surprised.
I'm glad that maybe this is the Steven Universe Berenstein thing.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on that. Holy crap.
I guess first, Gilda, have you watched any cartoons lately? And by cartoons, we mean basically any kind of media.
Have I watched any cartoons lately? I have not, although I've really wanted to start watching Beastars, which is on Netflix. But I haven't started it yet because my boyfriends and I are deep in the middle of watching both Arrested Development and Westworld. So we're like, we're keeping ourselves, we're like, do we want a light evening or do we want a heavy evening? So I'm making my way through those right now, which is a wild time. I'm obsessed with Evan Rachel Wood, so Westworld brings me joy. And Arrested Development is something that I missed when it was first on television. I think I might have been too young. And so now I understand all of the GIFs that I use on Twitter because I get the reference finally.
there's some really good stuff in there. Yeah.
It's like internet anthropology.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I wasn't like politically aware enough at the time of Arrested Development's initial release, but it's supposed to be lampooning the Bushes.
That's
which just,
so funny.
It makes it even funnier.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna bring that perspective to it as I'm watching it with fresh eyes, fresh bushy eyes.
August, have you been watching any cartoons lately? I know the answer to this.
Yeah.
So do I, if it's the same as last episode.
Yeah. We're continuing that particular journey through Equestria, and we're continuing to intersperse that with the Cold Case Detective YouTube channel. But we were actually watching a Cold Case Detective video about 3 lady serial killers, so that was fun.
Oh.
I would like to throw my hat in the ring, August, to just say, hey, maybe you should give She-Ra a chance in the future, too.
Oh, no.
You.
I fully plan to. I'm just like, my brain will get into a rut as far as like media that it wants to consume. Like, I haven't read a book in quite a while, but like I've been mainlining podcasts like there's no tomorrow. If you try to put me in front of a TV show that isn't exactly what I'm looking for, I zone out. It sucks.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah, I know I'll love She-Ra. I loved the first season, but right now it's just like,
That's fair.
One more thing.
I continue to watch The Owl House, and also I started watching Amphibia because I saw some GIFs. Disney has apparently figured out the system of getting me to watch one of their shows, which is I will see somebody make a weird compilation video about it on YouTube, and I'll be like, what's this about? And then I'll start mainlining videos from it. I'm like, well, I guess at this point I need to watch the series, because that's what happened with the new DuckTales. Because they were like, the story of Della Duck, and I'm like, what the fuck is a Della Duck? And then I'm like, why is DuckTales making me feel emotions? So Amphibia is pretty cool. It's like a trapped in a different world sort of thing, but they're all frogs, basically. It's cute. It's just like teenagers and fantasy stuff. It's fun. I don't know where it's going yet. I've also been wondering, Riley, shout out to Riley Hopkins for making me continuously consider, should I watch the Tangled cartoon? What is up with this Tangled cartoon?
I've heard it's pretty good.
Well, I was like, all right, because Riley made a fucking, did you see the video that Riley made?
No, I did not.
Riley made like a Blaseball video over one of the musical numbers. And so I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I looked up the Wikipedia article. That shit is, there's 3 seasons. There's like magical rune stones, dark pasts for all of the characters. They try, like, straight up, there's just like attempted murders all the time. I'm like, what is this show? I thought this was Tangled. So I don't know. That's my life, I guess. Just getting conned into watching Disney XD television.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
Much worse, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into our episodes. Our episodes this week are episodes 13, 14, and 15. So many birthdays, Lars and the Cool Kids and Onion Trade. We're going to start us off with So Many Birthdays, episode 13. The official synopsis is a fucking novel, so strap in. Steven learns that the gems are thousands of years old and decides to make up for all of the thousands of birthdays that they have missed. When the gems don't take kindly to his childlike birthday party, Steven sinks into a gradually worsening depression to make him grow older the more he fears outgrowing things. It's so long. It's a real synopsis. Yeah.
They watched the episode.
Yeah, I guess is episode 13 where things turn around and the synopsis is I can't dunk on anymore? I'm gonna lose that whole bit.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably. I'll probably go back to like one sentence and the next one, Lars wants to hang out with the cool kids. Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for reading the title. Yeah.
just repeats the title. So the plot is, the episode begins with the crystal gems searching through Amethyst's room for a stench that is contaminating the temple. Steven finds a old ass fucking burrito that Amethyst saved from a place called Aqua Mexican, apparently a restaurant that closed 5 years ago. Pearl is like, this is terrible, you're terrible. And Steven finds a painting of the gems. The plot description here on the wiki says it's a photo, but obviously that's not a photo, it's a painting of the gems from olden times. Steven's like, oh my god, how old are you all? And Garnet's like, time is an illusion. And Steven's like, you need to have birthdays. And they're like, we don't do birthdays. So Steven decides to throw all the gems' birthday parties. Starts out with Amethyst, getting her the little birthday crown and cape, and I believe a scepter.
Yes.
Sings her an adorable little song, and then they go for the pinata. Amethyst hits that pinata into the middle of the ocean, and is upset that Steven didn't just give her the candy that would have been in the pinata. Steven tries to make up for it in Pearl's birthday, where he dresses up as a clown, presents Pearl with a pie gag, and then just like takes his own bump into the pie. It's a good time, but Pearl is very confused and very concerned. And Garnet's like, maybe we're too old for this, Steven. Steven's like, no. Everybody deserves a birthday. And then moves on to Garnet's party, where he wants to play kazoo racers. Garnet is like, listen, Steven, we're too old for this. And Steven's like, you're not too old for this. If you're too old for this, maybe I'm too old for this. And so Steven kind of wanders off, gets into his own thoughts, and then begins to shift. He grows into a teenager, where he plays some Whacker Man in the arcade. I can't even say it.
A man on the cusp of adulthood couldn't spend all of his day whackering.
I just copied that line down. Just put it in my notes. He then decides he needs to go get a job, which I guess means he selects a t-shirt, which I believe is exactly how Steven thinks jobs work.
Yeah. You have to mention there that he chooses professional beach hunk.
I was about
to. That's very important.
It's very
as opposed
important.
to Love Doctor
or
was it Surfmaster?
Surfmaster, yeah.
Yeah.
He's neither a surfmaster nor a love doctor, but he is a professional beach hunk. He goes to
use those skills on Connie later.
He goes to get a donut from the Big Donut. The Big Donut folks don't recognize him because he's in fact an old man and no longer a child. He realizes that he is an old man, starts becoming older as he sinks into this realization. Though mentions that Sadie needs to help him into his birthday suit. This upsets Sadie because she thinks he's just some kind of weirdo. She chases him out of the big donut. He continues to grow older and older until he's too frail and old to move, but luckily Lion saves him, takes him to the Crystal Gems, who immediately freak the fuck right out, which is fair. They do everything in their power to cheer Steven up, to make him feel like a kid again, but it's having the reverse effect. He's just getting older and older, and he's on the cusp of death, when finally he just kind of gets pissed off, I guess, at them arguing the whole time. And it reverses his aging. So the gems are able to get Steven back into the mindset of his kid, of being a kid, by talking about all of his great qualities as a kid. And Steven reverts back to his normal age. The day is saved at the end.
Yay!
Woo!
This show continues to just be horrifying in its first season. I forgot how horrifying it is in its first season.
Yeah, it gets dark real fast.
Yeah.
It really does. Every one of these episodes has some kind of horror scene in it. And these are like, I knew So Many Birthdays was terrifying, right? I remember it. It's hard to forget Steven withering away into an old man. But like fucking Lars and the Cool Kids and Onion Trade, I'm like, what the fuck were the Crooniverse on at this time?
And it's all like existential horror.
It's true.
Like it's very gross and eldritchy and creepy and scary.
Anyways, so my first...
It's not the second Cronenberg trilogy, though.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
The Cronenberg trilogy was bad.
Yeah.
My first three notes on this episode are fuck, oh god, ew, in response to that burrito.
Why is everything fish themed? Is this just like something that happens in beachside areas, or is this just Beach City being Beach City?
So maybe it's just Beach City being Beach City. I think they just were like, it's next to the ocean. So I don't know.
Because we have fish stew pizza.
Yeah.
And then we have Aqua Mexican with the tuna burrito.
It is very weird that they lean really heavy into that. I don't know if that's maybe like a north, because I've never ever been to like a northeastern, coastal little town that would be equivalent to Beach City, because Beach City is probably, if it were equivalent in the real world, somewhere around like Delaware, I think, because they're in air quotes Delmarva.
Yeah.
So, because the world's not the same in it. I can't remember where the state equivalents to, but you see a map at some point. So, they're in the Northeast. So maybe, I don't know if it's like a New England-y thing, or if it's some kind of joke about that. But it's just there's so much weird fish things going on in this town.
Yeah.
Man, Pearl is a buzzkill.
Always. She's so uptight in these. I had forgotten. So I had forgotten how what's the word? How differentiated Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl were, and how stereotypical they were in these first few, the first part of this season. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? As we're establishing their characters, and it's really sort of jarring having now, I had just finished Steven Universe Future to go back to this and watch it and be like, oh shit,
right? It's
you're so uptight.
wow. I'm having roughly the same sort of vibe, because it's wow, these characters, I can't believe how much these characters grew over 6 seasons.
Yeah, so much. And that's not common nothing that happens in Steven Universe is common in a children's cartoon. But that really shocks me. It's just how much everyone grew.
True. They really lean into because even now, even though they're much closer to kind of tropier things, they've, in the 13 episodes that we've gotten through, they've done a whole lot of immediately presenting them as falling into the tropes, and then subverting those or showing what's like just below the surface of that, especially with like Pearl and Amethyst. A little less so with Garnet, but Garnet gets kind of more of time to shine when it comes to like her internal life in season 2. But
right, yeah, she remains a mystery currently.
Yeah.
So are we not going to talk about how hot the gems are in the old-timey quote-unquote photographs?
They're pretty solid. I like Garnet being like, it was hard to get the shark to pose.
Yeah.
I continue to forget how funny this fucking show is. Or maybe I just want to laugh at things because the world is a fucking hellscape right now. But this show's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah. Yes. I'm obsessed with all the jokes. I was with my dad today, and I literally looked at him and I said, "Dad, why'd you throw the butter out the window? To see a butterfly!" It kills me. It's so good.
It's weird that, like, I guess, like, maybe Steven's, like, getting to the age where he has, like, more of an interest in his external, like, outside of his, like, own interiority. But it's weird because, like, obviously the gems know what birthdays are. Because they're not like, what's a birthday? They're like, well, we don't really do that. We like pop out of the ground and then form a hard light shell around ourselves. We're not really, we don't really do the aging thing.
Yeah, I mean, I do find it a little bit interesting that like they know what birthdays are, but it doesn't seem like
they've been to one.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they've been to one. So like, are birthdays supposed to be solely the purview of Greg's because it's a human thing?
I mean, maybe
that's interesting.
Because, like, Steven didn't live with the gems forever. Like, at some point, he had, like, when he was a baby, he lived with Greg. Like, Greg took care of Steven for a while. Before he, like, Steven moved in with the gems. And so maybe it's just, like, Greg's like, they're like, okay, it's birthday time, whatever. And like, Greg just takes Steven off and does birthday stuff. Because, like, maybe this is something that's, like, happened. It makes me think, like, they figured out birthdays most likely from Greg, like, hanging around with Rose for so long. Because, like, I bet you they had, like, Rose and Greg had this same exact conversation at some point. Greg being like, when's your birthday? And Rose is like, oh, what?
Yeah, and I can imagine, too, that, like, Steven's view of birthdays is really different than the gems, because the gems may have been around for, like, Greg celebrating his birthday, but Greg is an adult. You know what I mean? So, like, all of the, like, the kazoo racing and the piñata and the, like, cute little birthday suit could be totally foreign to them, even though they know, like, birthdays are, like, about aging. Because, like, they could have just watched Greg, like, drink beer and make googly eyes at Rose.
Right. Greg bought a new guitar for himself.
Right, with the money he made for the 3 cars he washes each month.
Right, exactly. So it's very interesting. I really like the progression of birthday shit. It's like the Pearl section this is gonna come up. This particular scene is the most talked about fucking scene when it comes to Pearl, I think, on the goddamn Reddit when it comes to Pearl, where Steven's like, do you like pie, Pearl? And she's like, I love pie. And then later we find out that Pearl doesn't like to eat food. And that becomes canon.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
Why does she lie to Steven? Especially because just seconds before, he tells the butter joke, and she's like, Steven, why would you lie about me?
I think
it might be one of those things where she's like trying to be supportive.
Yeah,
but
or maybe she just only likes pie. Maybe it's the only food she eats.
Yeah. Oh,
that would make sense for Pearl. But
it's also just very interesting, like during that whole segment, like how little Pearl understands or seems to understand humanity. Although, like, have we ever? We've heard Pearl joke before. She understands the concept of humor. So, is this just like for the sake of the sake of a gag here for the audience, or is Pearl just being willfully ignorant?
I also think, and you all talked about this last episode, that Pearl seems to be the one who's like the most attached to sort of like the old ways, so to speak, and so I think that she has just willfully stayed aloof of a lot of human things, or maybe not willfully, but like she looks at human things as like as sort of like, oh, how quaint, how odd, what an interesting thing. And so I bet that some of these jokes just don't land for her because like the pie joke and like the pun about butterfly, those are really human things. And that's not necessarily like, that's universal humor to us, but like what it translates to an alien creature.
Yeah, because I can definitely understand Pearl not understanding what the fuck a clown is.
Right. Right. And like, why would you waste delicious pie on your face on purpose?
I have in my notes, I don't know how well versed you are in professional wrestling, Gilda, but this is aimed at August as like a note, like Steven just takes his own bump into the pie. It reminded me so much of when somebody will like fuck up a clothesline and then the other person just falls over because that's what the spot's supposed to be. Like,
yeah. Oh, actually, really quick, I want to go back a moment. Steven handing Amethyst the bat for the piñata, and Amethyst's first inclination was to start going for Pearl, says a whole lot.
It does. I in that particular section, I have a notes that says, Pearl, aren't we too old for this? Also, Pearl, bitch, I'll kill you.
Listen, when your age isn't real and your body's an illusion, violence is fun.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, that bat's not going to do much if Garnet's any indication.
Right.
Just fuck. Just the visual humor in this episode is really, really funny, and then just whiplashes so hard into just horror.
Which is like, that is like the Steven Universe brand to me, is like, look at how beautiful and colorful and soft and round everything is, and also look how horrifying everything is.
Yeah.
Steven is just a big ball, like a little ball of trauma right now. It's only going to get worse.
My little trauma buddy.
I don't know why. I don't. I hate myself. In relation to the Pearl scene, I wrote, but doctor. I had to make I've made this meme all day, like this joke all day.
Oh my god.
I don't know why I wrote down Jesus poor Steven. I guess it's
probably because like it's incredibly sad the way that Pearl's words just like kill Steven's enthusiasm for the whole concept of birthdays.
Right. Yeah, it's real. That whole little scene is just like Steven being like, "Oh, like," because kids go through that. It's like, "Oh, am I too old for this?" Because like usually it is an adult who like is like, "Aren't you a little too?" Because like I don't think the gyms are implying that Steven is too old for this. They're just like, "Hey, we don't really get this or understand this. This is like a thing for you, a child."
Right.
Yeah.
I also think that like we've watched Steven try to go on missions and try to be strong and try to do like the gym thing really hard. And this is an episode where he's like, okay, if I can't do the gym thing, maybe I can show them like the human thing and we can connect on that. And like once again, they're just like not connecting. And so it's like he's like doubly upset about this. He's like, no, I was trying to show you something that's important to me. And like you all don't get it. So like where am I going to connect to you with you all? Because I look up to you so much.
That's a really good point. I hadn't actually, like, that hadn't really occurred to me, but that's sort of, like, Steven's insistence on this thing, like, everybody gets a birthday, is really trying to bring them into that same experience. I don't know if necessarily he's realizing it at the point, but, like,
right.
It's obvious, like, that's a really good point. It's, like, a connection I hadn't been making, but it's really obvious that's what he's trying to do. He's really trying to, like, just make a connection with them.
I think that's a thing that happens in all three of these episodes where Steven is doing something and he doesn't realize what's like under the surface of that thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Because like, especially in this first season so far, like Steven's seeking like approval and connection with the people around him, be that the gyms and trying to be more like a gym or just trying to like get on the same level as other humans. Is really interesting, which I think is going to be an interesting thing to bring forward into like his evolution of his relationship with Connie, because Connie is like his only real human friend. As we've stated before, Steven's the only child in Beach City because Petey is an old man and Onion is a monster.
Oh, Onion.
Yellow diamond, yellow diamond, yellow diamond.
But in that scene, like, it's obvious that, like, Pearl realizes that she's maybe fucked up here. Because, like, the sincerity with when she delivers that, like, "Are you okay?" line when Steven's, like, deep in thought, is them sort of realizing, like, ah, shit, we've fucked up something. We don't know what we've fucked up, but we have fucked up. Mm-hmm. And then the horror begins as Steven morphs through his ages. I love how this... go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think the animation here is so beautiful, too, with, like, the fog and the colors that shift so drastically. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It is... Steven Universe continues to be one of the prettiest fucking shows ever, all the time. I like how Steven's teenage design... This is the only time we ever see this teenage Steven.
He gets a zit.
He gets it. Like,
it's a lot.
As he... I wonder if this is what Steven thinks a teenager is supposed to look like.
Right, as opposed to, like... Well, I feel like that's what a lot of this is that, like, his existential crisis about aging is his, like, fear of aging without actual knowledge of what it's like. You know? Like, especially because he doesn't know many kids... And, like, he's not close with a lot of humans. He only really knows Greg and himself. Yeah. So he's just filling in the gaps, you know?
And the only teenagers he's really observed are, like, Sadie and Lars.
Right.
And Lars is not, like, a great model to figure out what your teenage years are going to be like. Because, like, this teenage Steven looks radically different from what actual teenage Steven eventually ends up looking like.
Yeah.
All of these gags are pretty fun. The whacker man joke. Just a young man cannot spend his whole day whackering.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. Who in the scriptwriting crew is obsessed with jerking off? That's my question. Because the references to that are all over the place. And it just makes me, now that I'm looking back again, it makes me think, like, oh God, like, is this like some sort of subtext to be cluing into about like young Steven and his evolution as a human? Or am I reading too much into it because I'm wild?
Or do they just like making dirty jokes that are going to go over kids' heads? Like,
absolutely. Because that's a time-honored tradition. Thank you, Looney Tunes and Disney, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is them just leaning into the animation tradition of like putting as many dirty jokes that are going to get past the censors as possible into it.
Right.
This whole sequence as he like goes through like basically from Big Donut forward, when it's like this is no longer funny jokes, this is like sad stuff now, is just really just, again, the animation here is so fluid and so you can see, like, you know, the anime is here this week and it's Miyazaki. Like, this feels very much like some kind of horrific thing that would happen at the apex of a Miyazaki film. In fact, I think it has. I'm sure one of them has done this exact sequence, probably. But I do like that Sadie is more than willing to chase what she perceives as a weirdo pervert out of her store with a chair. I appreciate that level of go-getterness from Sadie.
Birthday suit does not always mean crown, scepter, and cape to everybody.
It's true.
Yeah.
Also the weird way that in which Lion just kind of like picks up all of Steven.
Yeah. I did think it was pretty nice that Steven Universe continues to be on the body positivity train, because like Steven, even as an adult, is still, you know, pretty chunky.
Yeah.
But he's like has no hesitation that his profession should be beach hunk.
It's true.
Absolutely. And do we think that has to do with Steven's perception of his dad as well? Do you know what I mean? like this, like he like loves his dad, and his dad's like just an average looking dude, but like Rose fell in love with him, and like that's what Steven, like, you know, like we all think, like I thought when I was younger that my dad was like the end all be all, and he was just like a regular dude, but I would have been like, yeah, he's hot, my mom fell in love with him.
It could be that. I don't know if this is a universe that like dwells on those sorts of things, you know?
That's interesting.
Because I think this is like sort of, because one day we need to deep dive on that interview with Noelle Stevenson and Rebecca Sugar, but they both kind of talk about like writing worlds where like talking about things like body positivity or bigotry or homophobia, things like that. Those are important stories to tell, but sometimes when you're making like a world that's yours, you just don't want all those things that make you feel bad in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering
yeah.
if it's the same thing, because like I don't think homophobia no, I don't think homophobia exists in this world. I think classism does.
Definitely.
But I don't think like homophobia or like fat shaming or anything like that, because like no one ever makes any sort of comments like that in Steven Universe. And I think it's probably dictation from Rebecca Sugar being like, I don't want kids to ever watch this and think that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good.
Yeah. But also probably also Greg, because that is, again, like you were saying, like that's Steven's like main idea of like, oh, this is obviously what I'm going to look like when I grow up. Duh, you know.
And I'm going to be a hunk. I'm going to play guitar and be a hunk.
Yeah, I'm going to be
bag
cool as
all
shit.
the space chicks. Yeah.
Because Steven thinks Greg is cool as shit.
Greg is cool as shit.
True,
I would love to be friends with Greg.
The Jim's reacting to like rapidly dying Steven is heartbreaking. This is the saddest shit ever. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Pearl just like weeping in the background and just like too sad to function. Garnet obviously having like a quiet panic attack.
Right.
I think...
Oh, go on, sorry.
I think a couple of things that are really telling is the way that Garnet's first reaction, and she literally states this, I thought violence would be the answer.
Yeah.
I'm going to shake the old out of him.
Yeah. But just, you know, we have, so far she has been painted as like, she's cool, she's collected, she's unflappable, and, you know, she's the leader. And yet her first instinct is to try to, you know, shake the old out of him.
Well, that's how the gym solve all their problems with violence so far that we know, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they just punch things until the problem goes away for the most part.
Yeah, they fist the monster to death.
In the butthole.
I think it's...
Coming to OnlyFans 2021.
Oh, boy. But as always, I'm keenly interested in all of the ways that Amethyst is not particularly precious about her form. You know, just because it's like, well, whatever could possibly make Steven happy, I'll try to be that. And if that happens to be a silly little toy car or a piñata, you know, it is what it is.
I find it interesting that in this, while like Garnet's obviously having like a panic attack and Pearl can't function because she's too sad, which is fair. I'm not saying that is a bad reaction from either one of them. It's a really normal reaction from somebody you really care about being effectively like very injured, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But like Amethyst is the only one who's really got her fucking shit together. She's like, everybody, all right, this is what we're doing. We gotta save Steven. Everybody, come on, fuck.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's also the closest to quote-unquote human of the gems,
Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely.
And she's got a much better handling on like how human emotions work. I also wrote down, this is how the aging process works in the United States in 2020 now.
Oh, God. Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Bringing it straight to reality. Gut punch right there.
I also like Amethyst's every Facebook advice about depression of just like, stop being old. Like, have you tried just not?
Right, she's like 3 seconds away from being like, meditate and keep a gratitude journal.
Have you tried yoga?
Oh my god.
Maybe you should
There's
cut
free
sugar
videos
out
on
of your
YouTube.
diet.
The worst part is I am actually starting to do yoga, so this is me to the probably like 3 listeners of Gay Space Rocks. If I ever turn into a Karen, you're legally obligated to take me out.
Pull the trigger, Piglet. But yeah, I love how this episode just wraps around, like, as the audience is surely sitting at home, wide-eyed, mouth agape at the horror they've just seen. They end on, like, funny leg joke, star wipe.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god. Just the level of confidence in your storytelling to be like, haha, funny joke.
Right.
At the end of it, oh my god.
Well, I think too, and I don't know if this is their intention, but I think a lot of that is effective in terms of like sort of building emotional resiliency. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see this horrific thing, but then it's solved. So as soon as it's solved, you can just move on. And that's like a skill that like young kids don't get and that we as adults don't always have. And like the show is often being like, this horrific thing happened and we solved it. So now we're okay. Everything's fine now. And that's like a cool thing to teach young people.
That's a really interesting point. That did not hit me. Probably because I'm still like its existential crisis is hitting me too hard, and so Steven Universe is making me spiral into my own existential horror. But that's like that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that, especially like moving forward as the stakes in the series sort of escalate and problems aren't solved at the end of the episode.
Right, absolutely, and the ending of those episodes has changed, and then I think, and I don't want to spoil too many things, but I think that lesson of emotional resiliency gets sort of like reinforced in Steven Universe Future.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Of letting go of the, like, when things are solved, like letting go of the, like, it's solved, let it go, it's okay. It's okay to move on from what's happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other remarks about So Many Birthdays? Okay, we're going to move on to the next episode. Let me click the thing then. Let's me go to the next episode. Okay. We're going to move on to Lars and the Cool Kids. The official synopsis. Steven and Lars get to hang out with the cool kids in town, Buck, Ginny, and Sour Cream, but their teenager shenanigans get them into deadly magical trouble. That's more or less right.
Yeah.
Close. Yeah.
Plot of the episode. We open with Steven and the Crystal Gems are on a mission to isolate a dangerous, fast-growing moss that is just outside of Beach City. The moss is capable of overwhelming and devouring living things that cross its path, apparently. It's apparently originated from a nearby hill that Rose planted it there hundreds of years ago, and it's now sort of like seeped its way into the valley since Rose isn't around to tend to it. Steven's like, that's cool, I'm gonna go get lunch, after they put police tape all around it to keep the humans away.
Yeah.
When in town, Steven comes across Lars, who is sort of like kind of loitering, just, looking cash. And Lars really doesn't want Steven around, more so than usual, it would seem like. Steven looks inside and sees a bunch of people inside a fish stew pizza. This is where we see Kiki, Ginny, Sour Cream, and Buck. When they come outside, Lars is like, play it cool. And they just kind of ignore Lars. Lars blames this upon Steven. Steven's like, oh, that's fine. I'll go tell them to look at you. And Steven walks up and immediately makes friends with them because that's what he does. The cool kids invite Lars and Steven out on a drive with them. While they are out, we get a look at kind of like what the cool kids are into, what kind of stuff that they do. Lars does his best to try and ingratiate himself with the cool kids, though he is more or less just trying to pretend to be something he thinks they'll like as opposed to just being himself. They head up to Dead Man's Mouth? Dead Man's Grin?
I almost wanted to say Old Man's Chin, but that is entirely the wrong franchise.
Yeah. I didn't write it down, and it's not here. So dead.
Yeah, it's like Dead Man's Maw or something like
yeah,
that.
It's
Maybe.
Dead Man's
it does have to do
mouth
the
thing.
Mouth chin.
Dead Man's
area.
Mouth.
Mouth
Under
area.
the plot synopsis, it says location, Dead Man's
Yeah.
Mouth.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. This happens to be where the moss is located. Steven cannot keep the cool kids from going and jumping into the moss lake, though he does.
And neither can the police.
Yeah,
tape.
neither can the police tape. Yo, fuck the cops. The moss begins to consume the cool kids. Steven and Lars have a bit of a spat where Lars says some very mean things to Steven. We'll get into it in a minute. And Steven rallies, sticks up for himself, gets Lars to help him get the cool kids into the car. They head for the hill because Steven deduces that's where the moss wants to be. The moss does gradually overtake the car, Steven and Lars, as they drag the cool kids to the hill. Slowly, it covers their faces, but luckily the sun comes out. The moss blooms into, like, cool little, like, flowers, and the cool kids basically accept Lars and Steven kind of into their group. Lars and Steven... It says Lars accepts Steven's offer for a high five in this synopsis, and that's not what happens. Lars touches Steven's chest, and then Steven touches Lars' chest's back, and it's pretty sweet. The end.
Yeah.
Note 1. Garnet, always willing to yeet her family.
Yes.
This is the most consistent character trait that Garnet has in this series so far. We'll throw, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if your body was an illusion, I would want to throw my friends too. You know what I mean? Like, let's go.
It's true.
Yeah.
I like the explanation of the I like this sort of world building. We actually had a question in our Discord server about this episode, and kind of like at the very beginning here. It was from, I believe, Philo, but let me take a look here real quick. Yeah, it was Philo.
Yeah. Of course, Rose war criminal courts would grow flesh-eating moss.
Yeah. I think it's like, hey, Rose, why did you put the death moss, like 10 feet away from Beach City? I think in Rose's defense, I don't think Beach City was there when she planted the moss. From the way that Pearl was talking, that moss had been there for like hundreds of years.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so...
Well, there's horrifying death traps all over this
Yeah,
world.
it's true.
Too.
I'm sure...
And human cities still pop up.
Exactly. Frankly, it's Beach City's fault for building near the death moss.
Yeah.
But I like the explanation. Like it leans into that, like, the world building that Steven Universe has been doing good of just like, here's this thing. We don't have to go into detail about why it exists. It's just a thing that Rose made. It's here. Moving on. Rose likes plants.
Right.
And we'll kind of, it's a character trait of Rose's that we're going to come back to, and starts kind of planting the idea of Steven's idealization of rose quartz, I feel like.
Right. Like, she sees beauty in everything. She loved the humans. She loved these crazy plants. Yeah. She took care of all these things. And yeah, absolutely. That's really important.
Yeah, it's building the myth of Rose the caregiver.
Yeah.
My next note is, what the fuck is this summoning dance?
Yeah. I love how Steven seems to live for Pearl being a drama queen.
It's true.
And also, I think it's really funny too that, like, we see her about to summon something and Steven goes, this is what I get up for in the mornings. And then she just summons human police tape and is like, we don't need to do anything magical. But, like, Steven really wanted magic to happen, you know? Just like he really wanted them to be a giant woman. Like, he lives for that, but she just summons something mundane, and also that she doesn't understand very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes back to her not really understanding humans that well, because if she did understand them, she'd know that, yeah, no, that's just going to want to make some of them go closer even more.
And the rest of the gyms take it very seriously too. Like Garnet and Amethyst and her putting the police tape around it. It's like almost an action sequence of them like putting police tape casually around these rocks, which I think is very funny about how seriously the three of them perceive the human police in the human's mind.
I also have a note here in regards to that when Garnet's like, don't hold back. And Amethyst is like, I never do. I'm like, that's a liar. Why you lying?
Why you lying? Why you always lying?
I have watched this show. I know you don't talk about your emotions, Amethyst.
That's fucking funny.
I also have here, Pearl, confirmed cop, question mark.
Oh, no, Pearl.
She's the most likely to be a cop out of the 3 crystal gems.
Yeah.
Listen, what do we learn about her? She loves police tape, and she also loves toilet paper. She is a cop in the coronavirus pandemic, and it's a horrible thing to find out.
Though, I mean, in Pearl's defense, she did fight a war against like a fascistic dictatorship. So, you know, maybe she's just getting more conservative in her thousands of years of age.
And they always say you get more conservative as you age. I don't know how Bernie Sanders came to be, but, you know.
So I guess, like, moving on with Steven going into town, what I find very interesting is, like, the way Lars is trying to get the attention of the cool kids is very similar to how Steven was initially trying to get Connie's attention in Bubble Buddies. And I'm like, Steven, I knew it. I knew Steven learned this shit from Lars.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think because of the way Steven reacts to Lars's attention getting grabs that he's learned his lesson about that? He's like, no, this doesn't work. That's not how you talk to people.
Maybe. It could be. Because, like, or maybe I don't know if maybe he recognizes that that's what Lars is trying to do.
That makes sense.
I think on one hand, he doesn't realize what Lars is trying to do. And then when Lars is like, no, like when the cool kids eventually show up, Steven hasn't internalized the lesson of just going to talk to people. Like, just leaning in, being himself, you know? Because this is obviously, the lesson of this episode is, like, being yourself, you know? Especially when it comes to Lars's interaction with the cool kids.
Yeah, and when we get to the end, it's nice, too, that when we get to the end, we, like, see Steven being himself pay off, because I feel like so many birthdays was an experience of him trying to be himself and it not going well.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, I really like how nice all the cool kids are to Steven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing to not have the older kids be antagonists and have them be, like, you know, they're still clearly supposed to be teenagers, but they're not jerkwads about it.
Yeah, they're like, look at this funny little guy. He seems nice. You know, the little kid offers them a high five, and then they high five him back because that's what you do.
It's so sweet. It's so nice to watch.
Yeah.
I don't have notes of every little running gag that goes through with the cool kids.
I do have a couple of notes because a couple of things stuck out to me. So when they get in the car, they turn the radio on. And it's on 88.5. Does that imply that there's a college somewhere nearby broadcasting all of the weird shit that Sour Cream likes to listen to?
That is about where it would be, huh?
Yeah, because in Atlanta, 88.5 used to be the Georgia State radio station, but it got usurped by NPR, but whatever.
Yeah, the one for UT here is like 90.3.
And we have 88.9, which is WEKU, which is like an NPR station, but it broadcasts from Eastern Kentucky University.
Oh, interesting. Ours, UT's does the same thing, because 91.9 WUTK, or no, sorry, WUOP, like, it's NPR, but it's also out of, like, the University of Tennessee. Like, that's where their broadcasting station is. It's not the same as the college radio station. The college radio station is much smaller and under a parking garage. But yeah, that's interesting. That I wonder how many NPR stations are like that, where they're paired up with like a public university.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense, and they also do like specific programming for our area through that. So there's like nationally syndicated NPR shows, and then also like this is like for Eastern Kentucky.
Oh, nice. Ours is like 99% classical music, because probably it's cheap. It's jazz at night, and then the news at the like morning, lunch, and evening news. But the it's weird. The streaming one that they do has like all the good shit. I don't know. I guess it's maybe cheaper for them to license it for the streaming side. I don't know.
Yeah, streaming is incredibly cheap to license.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Which is where all of the jokes about, Beyonce crossed like 12 million plays on Spotify, and everybody's like, oh, congrats on your $9, Beyonce.
This has been NPR Hour with the Gay Space Rocks. But yeah, Sour Cream's weird DJing things make me feel seen, frankly.
I really enjoy like some of the emotional intelligence that the cool kids have. Like, that's definitely not something most teenagers possess, but it's still pretty cool to see, like, Sour Cream admits that he's exaggerating about beating all of the games, and then Buck talking about, like, the lack of daddy kisses. Although it was also interesting to me to see Lars's reaction to that, just because it's like, am I supposed to be seeing that there's something else going on here with Lars and his aggression?
Interesting, because we get is it this season? I think it's this season. Is the new Lars in this season? Hold on a second, let me look at the episode. Oh, god damn it. I guess it's next season. Has to be next season. There's an episode, there's like a weird body swap episode with Lars and Steven. I think it's called The New Lars, and we get like a look at like Lars's home life.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. So that could be something. There could be something. I don't remember that episode that well. I just remember that it exists, to be perfectly frank. But yeah, I had a kind of a similar note. I like all the like little running gags are very interesting, and I think they get across that point of like, if Lars was just being himself, the cool kid, the cool kids don't care what shit he does. They're just like having conversations and hanging out and just like vibing, right? And but also like it's doing the thing that Steven Universe is best at. Like, it's very like Steven Universe is very good at world building, but what it's great at is like building deep characters off of subverting like tropes and ideas, because like in the 11 minutes of this episode they build some really deep characters in the cool kids, and you're like, you understand who they are, you get their motivations, like you get a look into their interiority, like really like boom.
Yeah,
because obviously like the cool kids are coming back. There are no NPCs in the world of Steven Universe.
Right.
Everybody gets a spotlight episode. But yeah, it's really good to see like that like their character building skills just like going full force on these like three just rando teenagers basically.
Yeah, I think it's really humanizing that like that is often how like Lars's perception of the cool kids is often like how we perceive people that we look up to in our lives, but like then watching them actually interact is like, oh right, everyone's just a normal fucking human. And that's like a really great lesson to like teach, but they don't beat you over the head with it. It's just like happens to exist within the scope of this episode.
Right. And will be the ongoing themes of a lot of Steven Universe is underneath like sort of the projection of what you think people are, or what people present themselves to be. Everybody's just people, and they all get their shit to deal with.
Right, which is really interesting when you have a conceit about the aliens living on Earth having light projected bodies. Do you know what I mean? Like that's like layered there as well.
Yeah. Sour Cream says ACAB.
Bless you, Sour Cream.
I like it.
I knew you were my favorite chip flavor.
When Sour Cream zips off his fucking Jinkos, I'm like, oh god, I'm having like flashbacks to the early 2000s, like it's Vietnam.
Pants are shorts.
Like, oh god, I owned these pants. Oh shit. The Steven trying to stop them, that's all well and good. Let's get to the part where Lars is a piece of shit. Fuck you, Lars.
He's so
It
mean.
was so fucking
But
mean.
it's all his like own internal shame. Like that we see that the whole episode is that like he's projecting all of his own bullshit onto everyone else, onto the cool kids, onto Steven. Hurt my boyfriend loves to say hurt people. Like people who are hurt other people, and that's what Lars is doing.
We're gonna take that forward as we further explore that. I feel like we can retroactively apply that to like Amethyst and Pearl.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. And to everyone in this whole fucking show.
It's true. But yeah, it's just like
we all.
I was so mad when he like said that to Steven, like, son of a bitch, you son of a bitch, how dare you hurt my perfect boy.
Not our precious cinnamon roll.
And just how like fucking I just like they do such a good job of just showing like how fucking devastated Steven is just by that comment. Like, ugh, Lord. Show
Yeah.
loves to hit you just like right in the heart. I do like that Steven stands up for himself, though.
Yes.
Like, he comes back, he's like, hey, listen, stop being a jerk. Get those fuckers in the car. Let's go.
Yeah. And, like, he's not mean about it. He's not lashing out. I mean, obviously he's heated about it,
Yeah.
but, you know, he's not, like...
Returning name calling or saying rude things about Lars's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just calling Lars out
Yeah.
on his bullshit. Like, which you know,
Right.
a good and measured way to respond to that sort of thing.
Right. It's like actual assertiveness. It's not like being a dick. It's like being actually assertive. Mm-hmm. Which is a great skill for an 11-year-old. Good for you, Steven. Holy crap.
I think Steven's 12 now. Because, like...
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I can't remember.
Oh.
I know next season Steven will turn 13. So I think, and I know he starts off as 11 at the series. At some point during this season, Steven turns 12.
We just didn't get that expressed in an
Yeah.
episode. That's funny.
I'm glad that this show continues to just like present you with like just the most horrifying imagery right before resolving it.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, I have written here in all caps, that's not how stick shifts work, Rebecca.
I feel like that's heavily implied that Steven has no idea what he's doing.
But they manage it. It's like it's not like with the Meat Beat Mania thing where he's like, I'm gonna do this, and then he doesn't. He's just like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and then they do, even though that is not how that works.
Well, let me posit
In our
let
universe.
me posit this. Steven does play a lot of video games. So he might drive
Okay.
do a lot of the driving things, and he might have
He has played
No.
Road Killer a lot.
No, he would require Lars's cooperation because he would need Lars
Oh,
to
yeah, to work the
disengage and
clutch,
re-engage the clutch. Like I have driven almost exclusively stick shift vehicles my entire driving career since I was 16. Like he would need Lars to clutch
That's true.
for
He
him.
would need Lars to clutch for him. I feel like they just destroyed the transmission. Of that
Well,
delivery
okay,
truck.
so here's the thing. You can in most modern to semi-modern manual transmission vehicles, you can usually pull it in out of gear and then force it into a higher gear while you're at speed. But if they ever needed to downshift, they'd be fucked. They'd destroy the transmission and they wouldn't be able to go any further. So it's
Right.
just like it's one of those things where I'm so used to like, you know, I take my car to a mechanic or something, I have to make sure to ask them if they know how to operate a stick shift. So it's one of those things I pay attention to in my media, and it's just, Rebecca, that's not how this works.
I'm glad this is the thing that breaks your immersion.
Listen, I can accept meat eating moss, and I can accept magical space gems, but I cannot accept the fact that an 11-year-old and a teenager somehow tandem managed to drive a stick shift vehicle without knowing how to clutch.
Well, Steven is very strong. Maybe he just fucking pushed the, I don't think we're supposed to think. I don't think anyone who works on Steven Universe knows how to drive stick shift, is my theory. Sorry, Crooniverse.
These commie young animators don't know how to drive a real car. Grumble, grumble.
Lars's last words of "this sucks." I'm gonna put that on my fucking tombstone.
Yeah, that was very good.
Yeah, the end was very touching. I'm glad Steven sort of like okay, Lars, you know what? We were both heated. I forgive you. Steven being the ultimate forgiveness machine.
Yeah.
It was very cute.
And still being willing to talk Lars up. Mm-hmm.
Knowing that this was an important thing for Lars and realizing that good kid, Steven Universe. Steven Quartz, Cutie Pie Universe. DeMeo.
You're a good guy and you're gonna get hurt because of
so much. Just so goddamn much. Okay. Anything else about Lars and the Cool Kids?
I didn't realize this until I watched through it a second time, but the reason why Lars touches Steven on the titty is because Lars refused the high five and Steven just slapped him in the chest earlier, and I thought that was really cute.
Yeah, it was very cute. Just
call back.
Which is basically how I think most 11 to 12-year-olds would react to you, not I know that Shannon's kid would do that to me. If I was nah, and he would just boot me in the chest. Though I always high five Daniel back. Because I'm not a fucking monster.
Yeah, because you're not a monster.
Oh, here we go. We finally got... All right. Official synopsises are back on their bullshit. Good.
Oh, boy.
Episode 15, Onion Trade. A toy trade between Steven and Onion escalates to epic proportions. The end. I knew we'd get back to it.
Oh, boy.
Steven finds Amethyst outside and tells her that he lost one of his guys, basically a little action figure fella, little gachapon dude. After hearing this, Pearl tells Steven that he should probably clean up his room. Then she opens a window and a seagull flies out. Amethyst stands up to Steven, telling her that, hey, my room's just as messy, and I can still find things. And Pearl's like, well, then go find my axe that you took. And Amethyst grumbles, and Steven kind of heads off to go talk to his dad. He finds Greg at the car wash. He's kind of down in the dumps about losing his guy. It's a ranger guy, particularly, of the set of guys. Steven goes through and tells us all about the guys earlier. Greg is like, oh, well, what is this guy thing? I don't know what you're talking about. And Steven sort of explains that it was a toy that Greg bought him last year when they were... last summer, I guess. It was just a random day. They just a nice day that they had together. And at the end of it, Greg had gotten him Ranger Guy. And it's a particular Ranger Guy. It's got a little different colored hat than the normal ones. Greg's like, well, I remember that day. We had that really good funnel cake. I saved the plate because I guess I'm a hoarder.
Yeah.
While digging through his van, he kind of forgets, and Steven sort of explains the situation to him. And Greg, to cheer Steven up, just gives him a big bag of quarters, which I can get, which makes sense that he has because he runs a car wash, and I bet you it's just all the quarters from the vacuum or whatever. So Steven goes to the vending machine that distributes the guys, spends all of the money, but he only gets Dave Guy. Dave Guy. As he is just pumping the machine, he gets only Dave Guys. Then the machine runs out of guys. Onion pops out of an adjacent machine holding a bag of chips that I guess he stole from inside the machine. And...
Which was set up in the Arcade Mania episode.
He wanders out, and Steven notices that Onion has a ranger guy in his back pocket. Steven follows Onion. We go through Onion's day, where Onion trades. Does he trade the chips? The chips just disappear. Onion goes to a briefcase store and then somehow acquires a grown man's lunch. I imagine he just spoke whatever deep eldritch language that Onion speaks, and the man was so horrified he gave Onion whatever he wanted.
I really think that Onion may have had like some dirt on that dude.
It's true. Onion knows things. He read that man's mind and pulled up his deepest, darkest secret and threatened to reveal it to the world until that man gave him his lunch. And then he goes to the docks. And he waits for his dad to show up. His dad's named Yellowtail. I don't think it's ever mentioned in the episode, but he does get named later. Yellowtail gives Onion like a hug after Onion threw the lunch into the ocean. I imagine to like feed seagulls or fish or whatever or something like that.
I thought he was summoning his father.
That may just be the summoning ritual for Yellowtail, yeah. And Steven realizes that Onion's probably lonely because he waits for his dad a lot at the docks. Steven approaches Onion, offers to trade him a Dave guy for Ranger guy. Onion's like, no, give me some more. Steven offers him two Dave guys, then 4 Dave guys. Basically escalates till he offers all 30 of the Dave guys that Steven has. And Onion is still like, nah, bruh, I don't want that shit. So Steven goes back to the house dejected. He finds Amethyst there again in the same position. Steven laments that he doesn't have enough Dave guys to trade for the Ranger guy. And Amethyst offers him the Replicator Wand. It is a wand that replicates things. It's pretty straightforward. Amethyst apparently stole it from Pearl's room. She gives it to Steven, with the words, you're magical, it's magical, you'll figure it out. Steven goes to Onion and replicates a couple of Dave guys, but Onion's like, no. I want that Replicator Wand. Steven thinks about this decision hard and long and decides to trade this powerful magical object for Ranger guy. It goes horribly wrong because Onion starts replicating Dave guys at an alarming rate to the point that the town becomes covered in Dave guys and a tidal wave of Dave guys floods the beach. The gems show up because Dave guys have flooded the beach. And Steven's like, I gave Onion the Replicator Wand. And Pearl is like, why the fuck did you do that? He's like, because I wanted Ranger guy. And Pearl's like, why didn't you just replicate Ranger guy? And Steven's like, well, shit. So they go and they confront Onion. Onion starts shooting Dave guys, and when that doesn't work, replicates a car and starts shooting cars at the crystal gems. Steven wrestles Onion for the wand, and tries to offer Onion Ranger guy back in exchange for the wand, only to realize that the Ranger guy is in fact his Ranger guy that he had lost earlier in the episode. He gets mad at Onion about it, takes the wand from him. Garnet destroys the wand. All of the replicated things go away. In the end, Steven gives Ranger guy back to Onion, realizing that Onion was probably just bored, waiting for his dad all day. And then falsely implies that Onion wanted Ranger Guy because of the connection that Ranger Guy represents between Steven and his own father. And Onion's like, no, I just wanted the toy. And at the end, Greg congratulates Steven on making this sort of like very mature move. The end. This is a pretty fun little episode. It's not quite as like meaty as other ones. We do get
yeah, it seems
I do have here like this feels like a lot of this feels like the most like just straight up just a kid going through his day that Steven has felt like in a little while. Mm-hmm. Like this is very like Steven's very concerned about a toy. But you know he's not really concerned about a toy. He's really concerned about like what that represents to him. And I don't think it comes through early on. Like they really build like Steven has put a lot of emphasis on this toy, but not necessarily isn't admitting to himself why he really wants this toy back necessarily.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't get that until the end when he's like, but now we have new memories. Horrible memories.
Yeah.
Another theme of Steven Universe.
Yeah.
Right. That's called trauma bonding.
Yes. My next note after this is the most like a kid Steven has been. My next note is yo fuck Dave guy.
So why does Greg automatically jump to Steven losing his innocence?
I don't know.
I mean, I think
Probably because he's like,
go on.
oh no, did the gyms tell you about the horrible war shit?
That's funny because
Fair.
I thought that was another like Wackerman Meat Beat Mania joke. Like, I've lost something. Oh no, your innocence? Do you know what I mean?
I think it might be something like it's probably just something like that where they're trying to just tell a little joke that like will go over the rest of the kids actually watching the show's head. It's like pointed more at like adults, teenagers. I'm glad that we're finally starting to like delve deep into like the eldritch horror that is Onion. They never imply that Onion is human. Ever.
Never.
Like Yellowtail also maybe not human.
Right. I've never thought that Yellowtail was human. I feel like Onion is like a strange parallel for Steven in that we learn later on about Steven's parentage and like one of them is human and like we don't really know about Yellowtail.
Yeah,
you
true.
know what I mean?
Yeah, because like Onion has like a totally normal human mom.
Right.
And then the Swedish chef of the sea, who may also be an eldritch terror for a father.
He's not the Swedish chef. He's Beaker.
Oh,
Because he
yeah.
mimi's like...
Yeah, that's true.
He's Beaker of the sea. The Onion has an older brother that we've seen already.
I do know who Onion's older brother
Okay,
is.
good. Yeah, sour cream and onion in Yellowtail. Just this like watching like Onion go through his ridiculous little day is just so. You can see the writers just being like, how weird can we make this character? Let's just go full fucking tilt.
I have two primary notes about Onion. Onion wants to watch the world burn. And
Yes.
in two separate places, I have in all caps, Onion is a fucking criminal.
He really is. He's just a little sociopath. I don't understand the point of the ketchup packs and then the motor scooter that bursts into flame. I don't get it. I love it. I love how Onion turns around. He's like, Jotaro. Like,
Jesus Christ.
oh,
Yeah, he's one of those people that just enjoys destroying things for the sake of destroying things, it seems.
This is what happens when you have a distant father, but you're not an only child. You've also got an older sibling. So you're just absolutely left alone to your own devices.
yeah, I don't know. I guess schools don't exist in the world of Steven Universe.
That's a good thing. Just because Connie goes to, well, we learn much
Yeah,
later
Connie goes to school.
that Connie does go to college.
Yeah, well, Connie goes to school because, in the Mirror Gym episode, that's what prompts the Mirror Gym episode, is Connie being like, wait, you don't go to school? To, like, Steven.
Right. So does Onion go to school? Or is he just a delinquent without cause?
No bars can hold Onion.
No bars.
Onion obviously can more, like, change his form to fit whatever need he has, so he'll just simply walk out. Like...
He is the chaotic neutral force of this show.
Sure. He's a chaotic evil force. That's what I'm like. Let's call him. Onion is the most evil thing on the show. He ruined that man's life to get that lunch. Like, that's my new headcanon.
He did.
Just for lunch. Just for
ruined
lunch.
him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because that man was building model homes in Iraq.
Yeah, I honestly, I just don't have a whole lot. Like, I think the resolution is cute of Steven coming to, being like, well, I get why you wanted this, like, you're bored, like, realizing somebody else's problem, stepping outside of himself and helping somebody, even though, like, that person wasn't necessarily, like cordial to him, but realizing, like, why.
Right. We also see Steven, which he does a lot, like, project his own feelings onto Onion, but Onion is very like, no, that's not why. Like, when Steven's like, oh, it's about your dad, and Onion's like, no, it's not. I just want the fucking toy.
I'm maybe 6 years old or something. Like, I'm somewhere between 6 and a million years old.
Right.
I thought that the music during the climactic scene was pretty fucking choice.
Steve, like, honestly, Onion is like the hardest monster they have fought in the show so far. I love Onion's escalation of like, oh, the toys aren't working, I guess I'll throw cars at them. Like, God.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, I mean, it's a cute little episode. There's just not a whole lot going on in it outside of introducing this running joke. Like, the Onion will be a continuous joke as the show goes on.
Right. Yeah, Onion stays like an enigma, really. Like, we learn a lot about the people around Onion, but do we really learn that much about
Not really. Like, because Onion has like a number of showcase episodes and comes back in Steven Universe Future and hasn't aged. Yeah,
at all.
He's still a baby. Yeah. It is really fucking weird.
Yeah. Rebecca Sugar, please make more episodes and tell
just
us about
Onion. Spin-off show about Onion. You've got all that HBO Max
curious.
money, Cartoon Network, do it.
Right. But the spin-off show is about Onion is just like an evil campaign. Do you know what I mean? It's just about Onion being chaotically destructive through the years.
Right, just destroy. Yeah,
with
just
no
rezzing
words.
the world.
Oh my god.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that's it. Unless somebody's got more notes about Onion trade.
No.
Yeah.
I just. Onion is a fucking criminal who wants to watch the world burn.
Sure, he is Dark Knight Joker.
Honestly, more power to him. You know, more power to an example to all cis white guys.
This is the energy. Like, if you're going to be a motherfucker who wears your sweater tied around your neck, you've got to do this kind of shit. It's the only way I can respect you.
Big Ben Shapiro energy. That's fucking
So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps us up. I don't have an ending segment today. I didn't do any. There's no news. Nothing's happening. There's nothing going on with this show.
Well, that's not true. The Beachapalooza post Kickstarter thing is going fairly well. I just got an update like yesterday or today.
Oh, nice. I didn't actually end up I didn't end up backing it because you did.
Yeah.
Though we will
see.
Hopefully at some point we can be in the same room and play that game.
Yeah, that would be nice.
My brother bought me into that Kickstarter for my birthday, so I'm really excited for it to come out. Yeah. There's also in the drag world, for those of you who like drag and Steven Universe, out of Chicago, there's a digital drag show called The Crystal Thems, which is Steven Universe themed. And they've done, I think they've done 2 sort of like episodes of it. And I don't know how often it's happening, but I know that because of its success, they're going to keep doing it for now. So you can go follow Miss Toto on Twitter, or I think Lucy Stool has been a part of it, and maybe Ramona Slick, I think, is one of the hosts of it, and they do a show. It might be monthly now, called The Crystal Thems, which is Steven Universe themed, and it's amazing.
Are there VODs available for it, or?
That is a question that I do not know the answer to.
I'm sure I'm going to look it up as soon as we get off.
Go seek it out.
I'll probably tweet about that.
Yeah.
like 4 followers that the Twitter account. I'll tweet it from I'll tweet it from our normal account, then I'll retweet it with my bigger account.
I love that.
But yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's great.
What was I gonna say? There was at some point I'm gonna need to play these Save the Light. They actually just released like new DLC for the one of the most recent.
I hear they're really good.
They're fun little turn-based ones. I'll have to if we stream it, I'll have to figure out how to play the Android one on my PC or put a Chromecast into a thing or something like that.
You can there are a bunch of different ways that you can cast it to your computer. You can run an Android emulator that's completely legit and legal.
Okay. Because I think the little game is either free or it's cheap. I don't care.
Yeah, I think it was like $5 when I bought it. I played like the first couple of levels and then forgot it existed on my phone.
Yeah. The other ones I know are available just on PC because they were full release games. So maybe we'll play that at some point. Maybe we'll, at some point when we start a Patreon for this show, in addition to our other Patreons.
Yes, monetization.
Well, it'll just be weird because it'll be collectively our third Patreon. So maybe we'll just do something different. I don't know. But
that's how we feed ourselves nowadays. That's how we feed ourselves.
But yeah, this episode is going to come out. Go to our podcast guild's Twitch page / YouTube channel when you hear this, because the VODs for the stream that we will have just done will be up. So we're doing that this weekend, but this episode will come out after they come out, or after we do that stream. So, but go back, take a look. The link will be available, will still be active. We're raising money for Rose Hip's medics in Portland. They are street medics that support the protests there. Shit's real fucked in the world right now when it comes to civil liberties, especially in the United States. Jesus, so much so. Especially this week, shit has really exploded. So things like street medics are extremely important to these causes because they are able to keep the boots that are on the ground moving. So we'll be raising money for that. We'll be playing a bunch of games. So go back, watch the VODs, send some money. That link will probably still be active and available on either on our Twitch page or on our YouTube page. Gilda, do you have anything you want to pitch?
Hey everybody, please follow me on my social medias at Gilda Wabbit. I am about to go back to work. The bars have reopened, so keep fingers crossed for me. We're taking lots of measures to stay socially distant. So if you're in Kentucky and you want a good time, you can reserve a table at Play Dance Bar, and you can watch me Fridays and Saturdays from 8 to 10:30 from 12 feet away, and I won't touch you, and it'll be a good time. Other than that, I'm just taking photos and looking pretty and occasionally making Steven Universe references in my Instagram captions. So it's a good time.
Wonderful. Check out me and August's other podcasts. I'm on The Room Where It Happened. August. I'm on
Follow the Leader. We're both collectively on Dumb Kids Playing Hero.
And check out the Podcast Guild. It's Standing Stones Podcast Guild. Check us out on Twitter. It's at @stones_standing. You'll find all of our other links to all of the other stuff, like the YouTube that has all the VODs from the different streams that we've done, and the Twitch page and all of that there. Thank you so much for being our first guest, Gilda. It was really good. We had so much fun with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's a joy. I love this stuff.
Awesome. Do you want to do the sign off this time, August, or can I this time?
You can do it this time.
And remember, everybody, be like Cookie Cat and leave your family behind. Peace.